All right, quick look at RIO just on the weekly time frame. You can see the bounce has been quite strong here. Look, RSI is not showing a big lot of sort of buying pressure so far, sort of coming back up into here. You probably would have expected the RSI, which is the sort of relative strength of the move, to probably sort of maybe ticked up a little bit more coming into this area here. It's not to sort of say that it can't continue moving through here, but as you can see, market's kind of stalled a little bit into this sort of little purple zone around this 115 to 117-ish kind of area. And that's pretty much as to be expected because as you can see, when you had this sort of move down here, buyers stepped in here. Buyers stepped in here. Sort of fluffed around a little bit sort of on this test through here, but you can see quite consistently, once price got back above after this big drive up through here, every time price came back down into this zone, plus minus $1 or so, it was pretty good risk reward risk reward. It was pretty good returns for people. They bought it, made a quick profit. Bought it, made a profit. Bought it, made a profit. All the way through here. Eventually, bang, it broke through. So you kind of sort of think that where you're at right now, anybody that bought here, bought here, bought here, bought here, maybe they made profit, that kind of thing. They've either been stopped out, which sort of led to the faster move down, or they held on to their positions and they thought, well, you know what, I had a pretty good sort of return from 115 up to 135 here. These ones here sort of give or take a couple of bucks or so, $10 returns, $10 moves each time through here. Okay, that's enough for me now. Maybe I'll just get out for zero. And that's why market's sort of stalling here a little bit. Now, it doesn't mean that this can't sort of then sort of push through and continue to move further up, but it does give some sort of explanation as to why it was sort of, holding the zone originally, but now it is obviously sort of holding this zone on the other side of it all. So what I'd probably expect market to do from here would probably see some, unless this sort of powers straight through, but with ASX as a whole looking like it a little bit toppy, I would expect this to push back down here. Now moving down here, the first place that you'd be targeting would be these levels here, where you can see similar to these moves along here, where buyers bought it, had a good return, buyers bought it, had a good return, time and time again. Well, buyers that bought it here, they also did well. Buyers that bought it here did well, and so on and so on. So same sort of thing happening along this line as we saw up the top over here, albeit on a much larger return, but larger time frame to come back to this level. So should this break down here, first area you probably target or expect a reaction would be at 105. Then you'd probably see a reaction like you had every single time here. So I'd expect a bounce up here. Now this would be your make or break area. Well, make or break, I sort of say. I would expect this bounce to come, and then you're either going to see a retest of this level up here, so 115, and then you could potentially be breaking through, or it could just range. You have to see how that gets when it gets there. The other alternative would be that it bounces up, but then sellers move in again, attack this level again, and then that puts you at the risk of sort of moving down like this to 90-ish kind of level. But a couple of sort of things that I definitely sort of put money on is if you want to buy it, I'd buy it here. If you want to sell, I'd sell into this area here, like take profits or whatever. Wait to see what market does after it moves here. Because the thing is, you can see that they were trying to move it up. So buyers bought it down here. They moved up, they bought it here. They moved up, they bought it here, and so on and so on. All of a sudden, that momentum of people going, hey, look, I'll pay more for it, I'll pay more for it, I'll pay more for it, that momentum's lost. They didn't want to sort of say, hey, look, you know what, I'll buy and I'll pay more for it. They go, screw that, I don't want to pay 116 for it. Hence why you allowed it to come back down over here. So at the moment, what you're seeing is sellers sitting up here sellers are sitting here, they're moving down each time. So where you sort of thought previously, oh, you know what, it's worth 136. Look, if I can sell it for 129, I'll sell it for that. If I can sell it for 125, I'll sell it for that. If I can sell it for 123, I'll sell it for that. And this is the thing, this is over, you know, firstly, it's a weekly time frame, but it's the same mentality as a personal trade of sort of like, oh, you know what, I wanted to sell it for 136. You know what, may not get there. Look, I'll just take 129 and so on and so on. What you want to see is this mentality that's driving this thing down like this. You want to see that change. You want to see people go, you know what, I think it will go higher. And this is why I use this blue line here, which is your resistance, your trend line. You can see that the sellers are accepting less and less and less each time. So till you break this level and this mentality that's happening with the market, you'd expect this mentality to continue moving down like this. And this is what gives you the falling resistance, the trend. You want to see a shift in the mentality of people saying, hey, I'll take less for it, I'll take a less for it, I'll take less for it. And likewise with the buyers on the other side, you know, they were sitting here, that's what I was saying. The buyers are sitting here, they say, yep, we'll pay more for it. We'll pay more for it. Then all of a sudden, as I said a second ago, you know, they said, you know what, I'm not going to pay that. I'm not going to continue pushing up the price for it. And now the buyers are saying, hey, look, I won't buy it here, buy it here, buy it here, buy it here. And you can see the buyers are in indecision at the moment. They allow it down, they hold it up. They allow it down, they move it up. So the question is sort of like, you know, are you going to see a relinquishing of this sort of sell mentality that's moving down? Or are you going to see the buyers, should it come back here, give up and say, hey, look, you know, let's buy it down here. So most likely you'll see, because this bounce has been quite strong, that gives credit to this level. You know what I mean? It's not sort of like a little, there wasn't a small reaction from here. You know, you've seen a move of, give or take 12, 13%. That's, you know, that shows that buyers are interested at that level. But the thing is, you know, buyers aren't always going to be there. So if it comes back down here and tests it again, guarantee you probably get about another bounce. So this is where you'd want to buy it from. See where the bounce goes. The bounce could sort of push up and you could see this kind of move through here and test these sellings that are coming down. Or it could just reject off there and then come down here. I'd say though, if you test this once and then you test it again without breaking this level over here, without sort of going above 120, I would say that's more likely the time that you look for down at 90.